Hello, friends, and thank you for joining ERPA's webinar, How to Get the Most Out of PeopleSoft Managed Services. I'm Jeff Miller from ERPA, and I'm going to be your host for our event today. So welcome to you all. ERPA supports customers throughout their entire life cycle on PeopleSoft, including managed services, of course, modernizing with the cloud, path to SaaS, projects that require perhaps more technical expertise than you have in-house, data center evacuation, and much, much more. Nearly anything is possible, but today is all about responsiveness, reliability, and innovation in the context of managed services, all while controlling costs. Let's go to the next slide. This is our intro slide for our world-class presenters, but a few comments before I introduce them. As folks continue to join, you will find yourself muted on our platform. But please send in your questions and comments during the presentation using the chat feature or the question feature in the top right corner of your webinar platform interface. And we're going to be sure to respond to those near the end of our time together. Featured on this slide in front of you, like I said, our world-class presenters today are Sean and Vishal. Both are leaders here at ERPA with expertise in managed services for PeopleSoft customers, with an emphasis on managed services for those of you with cloud-hosted PeopleSoft infrastructure. They have some terrific material prepared for you today that you will find extremely helpful, and I think it's going to make you think about all of the right questions you should be asking, while at the same time, they'll be answering many of those questions throughout the presentation. But again, if you do have any additional questions, perhaps you're prompted by the content that's in front of you on the slide to ask an additional question, put that in the chat or the question feature. We'll be sure to answer those near the end. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sean, my ERPA colleague, who's going to start us off with a little discussion about who ERPA is. Welcome, Sean.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Very happy to be here, everyone. And let's dive right into it. So to begin with, let's just talk about who we are. Who is ERPA? What can we do for you in your journey for a better experience with PeopleSoft? My role at ERPA is a VP of Alliances, so I really consider my role as an enabler. So my responsibilities include ensuring that we are investing in our own intellectual property to ensure that we can deliver strong results for our customers, to leverage industry-leading partners to ensure that we're bringing best of breed to bear for our customers, and by constantly advancing our best practices. So today, what we're really going to talk about is we're going to talk about some best practices from a managed service provider perspective, best practices from a managed services customer perspective, and ultimately, we're going to share some real world examples of what good looks like when those two things are aligned. So back to who we are. ERPA was founded in 1999 as a PeopleSoft consulting firm. So we've been helping customers get more out of PeopleSoft for more than 25 years. So it's safe to say that PeopleSoft truly is in our DNA. And what is it that we do? We help our customers optimize, modernize, and support run state critical applications for PeopleSoft and other enterprise ERP workloads. The net is that after 2.5 decades in this space, we've really become an ERP managed services provider, but the fact remains that PeopleSoft is in our DNA. So when we talk about PeopleSoft services, it's something that we do well, will continue to do well, and have a strong customer base that can back that up and reflect that as well. Additionally, with PeopleSoft, we offer cloud services, right? And a lot of this has been done by demand from our existing customer base, right? We've helped them to modernize their PeopleSoft stack, and they've asked us, can we do more? So when it comes to the cloud, obviously we can run PeopleSoft anywhere, right? On-premise, literally anywhere, but our preferred execution venue is Amazon Web Services or AWS Cloud. We'll get into some of the reasons why, but at a high level, ERPA runs multiple enterprise workloads on AWS, including PeopleSoft and including Workday. And so we have a unique perspective, right? We're both an AWS customer, but we're also an AWS partner. And when it comes to cloud services and cloud partners like AWS, those cloud service providers or CSPs typically credential their partners, right? Meaning that in order to make it easier for their customers to choose qualified partners, they authenticate partners' skill sets. So in the AWS ecosystem, what that looks like is a competency. So AWS hires a third party to do a very rigorous audit to ensure that their partners like ERPA have validated expertise. So for example, in the AWS ecosystem, ERPA is an education competency partner, which certifies that we've demonstrated expertise in the education pillar. Or ERPA is also a migration and modernization competency partner, which means we have demonstrated expertise in migrating and modernizing workloads to the cloud. And ERPA is also an Oracle workload partner, which means that we have expertise in migrating and modernizing Oracle workloads like PeopleSoft to the cloud and leveraging AWS to do so. In addition to those credentials, ERPA has authority to operate on AWS, which means that we can deploy GovCloud to meet federal FedRAMP or other compliance requirements. And ERPA is an AWS Professional Services MSA partner. So when AWS has a customer that wants to move an Oracle workload, specifically like PeopleSoft, to the AWS cloud for migration and modernization, they'll often lean on ERPA to provide that service for them beneath their AWS Professional Services MSA. So very credentialed in the cloud space, specifically with AWS. Additionally credentialed in the Workday services space. And it's interesting because PeopleSoft 20 years ago was all about getting everything you can out of PeopleSoft on-prem. Over time, it became how do we modernize and get more out of PeopleSoft leveraging the cloud? And what we're seeing today is PeopleSoft customers leveraging SaaS. In most circumstances, leveraging Workday services. So that while they may retain PeopleSoft modules, for example, for SIS or for finance, they're adopting other Workday service modules. It just so happens that we're also a Workday partner. So you may have heard the announcement less than 2 years ago. Workday instructed their customer base that they would need to move from Workday's private cloud to the public cloud. And today they can move to either AWS or GCP. When Workday made that announcement to their existing customer base, they also announced 6 partners globally that they recommended to help their customers with that transition. So ERPA is one of those partners. So we are a Workday implementation partner. We are a Workday application managed services or AMS partner. We are a Workday extend partner, and we're a built on Workday partner. So we're very credentialed there as well. And then obviously you see the last icon there is Beyond ERP. So while PeopleSoft has been in our DNA for 25 years, we're a highly credentialed cloud partner with AWS. We're a highly credentialed Workday services partner. All of this is really a path to enable us to help our customers get beyond ERP and get beyond the operations mode of these ERP systems and get to the value mode of these ERP systems. So once we've stabilized, we've got a steady run state. Now it's a matter of how can we focus on value add things that really impact the end user experience of these systems. So regardless of where you are in your journey or what combination of those services you're using, whether it's PeopleSoft on-prem, some combination of cloud, perhaps some combination of SaaS, once that's stabilized, we can then focus forward and start doing some really cool things. So for example, that with PeopleSoft, you have a ton of data. One of the things that we've done for customers is help them to build custom dashboards leveraging that data to provide valuable insights and real-time natural language query into that data. So from a finance perspective, we may be able to ask questions in that framework as to, hey, what are the top 3 indicators to improved margin last quarter? And be able to see that data real time, then produce contextual reports around that data. One of the other things that we might see beyond ERP is that if we're leveraging cloud to optimize and redefine how we do business and what are the things that we can attach to it. So we'll get into some details about what all that looks like, but specific to PeopleSoft, let me just finish with this before we move on. We typically see that our clients are in one of 3 categories. Number one, they're just looking to maximize their PeopleSoft investment. And what that looks like typically is they're either retaining that PeopleSoft stack on-prem or they've already rehosted that PeopleSoft stack to the cloud. And when I say rehost, I think of that more as a lift and shift, right? It hasn't been re-architected. It's simply sitting on the data center or it's sitting in the cloud with very little change. And maximizing in that scenario really means a lot of tactical improvements, right? So we have customers that are looking to maximize their PeopleSoft investment that are asking us to engage in project level tactical improvements, leveraging best of breed partners and our industry best practices. That might be, for example, implementing application change management by a partner that we have, Fire. It might be implementing PeopleSoft identity and access management by Pathlock. It might be helping our customers build out a PeopleSoft test framework, right? It could be a 9.2 upgrade. It could be a fluid implementation or adoption. It could be FAFSA simplification. It could be building out a PeopleSoft data archive manager. It could be chatbot implementation. It could be leveraging Gen AI to generate insights from your PeopleSoft data. All things that we're happy to do, but all very tactical to gain value from PeopleSoft. The second category that we see our customers in is really kind of in that modernized phase, where they've typically re-hosted their PeopleSoft from the data center and gone maybe a step further to re-platform. And when I say re-platform or refactor, they've either made minor changes to the architecture or they've made significant changes to the architecture in terms of re-platform. And really the focus here is, in terms of modernization, is at a little bit higher level. It's really about reducing total cost of ownership and improving the ROI. It could have a driver might be, hey, look, we've had it with Oracle licensing. Can we get away from licensing dependence? It could be, how do we build a path for flexibility and avoid vendor lock-in and vendor spend lock-in? Could be resource prioritization, right? So in that modernized phase, if you've re-platformed or refactored the application, it puts you in a position to start looking at managed services and saying, hey, what part of this work should we be doing? So it's not a question of what your people can do, it's a question of what your people should be doing. And typically at that level, with a managed services provider, you begin to draw a delineation of responsibility around your PeopleSoft stack, things that you want to do internally to drive value and things you want to delegate to a partner like ERPA to maintain the stack itself. And then the third category, of course, is transform. And in the transform category, this is where customers are really getting beyond PeopleSoft on-prem, PeopleSoft in the cloud. They're beginning to integrate and adapt SaaS purchases to really drive an agile cloud-based IT operation. So regardless of where you are in that spectrum, and I know that's a lot, the takeaway here is that we're customer journey focused, right? We're going to help, our interest is in helping you maximize your PeopleSoft investment. If that's project level tactical improvements, certainly will help with that. If it's modernize your PeopleSoft investment for a SaaS-like experience, which means you're going to re-platform or refactor, or certainly help with that. If you want to build a strategy for a path to SaaS and eventually SaaS adoption, we'll help you with that. I think the net is whatever challenges you might face in those three paths, chances are we've already dealt them and we can help you through the same. So let's go to what are the common customer challenges, right? What is it that we hear from our customers? And I'm not going to roll through every single one of these. I will just I'm going to simplify it to the most common. I think what we hear most often, the number one thing I hear most often is, hey, I need help with continuous improvement and cost optimization, right? We've taken some move to drive more value from our PeopleSoft stack. It could be on-prem. In all likelihood, we've already moved it to some cloud platform. We saw some initial gains, and now it just seems to be stagnant, right? It's just the same old, it's the same old stuff, day over day over day. How do we drive continuous improvement in this environment, and how do we continue to drive cost optimization? Another one that stands out and jumps off the page for me is how do we unlock innovation, right? We have all this data. How do we drive intelligence from this data that helps us make better decisions for the business? How do we unlock, how do we implement things like Gen AI? How do we train the models? How do we drive value there? And then the third thing that really jumps off the page for me that I hear most often from our customers is, look, my cost model isn't predictable and I need a predictable cost model. So how do I future-proof my environment into a predictable cost model, both from an operations and a support model? So those are the challenges that we hear. And the promise of partners is that, hey, we'll fix everything, right? And maybe that's true initially. The question is, how does it go wrong? Right? How these are challenges that are faced by customers that have managed service partners in many cases. So they didn't make that selection initially to have these experiences, but over time, these experiences bubbled to the top. How does that happen? And I have to say, we both probably should take some credit for it, right? I think the enemy here is complacency. So both parties have to remain proactive and disciplined. So if you find yourself facing any of these challenges, my advice would be just get back to the fundamentals, right, with your partner. Get back to things like quarterly business reviews. Get back to helping your partners understand your business and what you're trying to accomplish. And as a partner, we need to have the same discipline, right? We need to insist that our customers are adhering to what we understand to be industry best practices. If our customers want help with continuous improvement and cost optimization, we can help them with that, but we can help them with that more effectively if we understand the business, right? And that's a standard part of what we do. So, uh, so with that in mind, as we talk through customer challenges, let's look at what do we do in response to those challenges. And I think really we're going to talk about drivers and best practices, but this is really about taking customer business drivers or concerns from the previous page and converting responses to those concerns into MSP best practices, right? And then encouraging our customers to hold us accountable. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what these best practices look like from a managed service provider's perspective. And then we'll discuss what these best practices look like from a MSP customer's perspective. And then we're going to share some real world examples of what good looks like when these two things are aligned in terms of delivery excellence. So let's just get right to it. Responsiveness and reliability. I'm not going to belabor these things. You guys can read it. You'll have a copy of the deck if you'd like it. Really what our customers are saying is that we just want it to work, right? We want a SaaS-like experience. PeopleSoft meets our business needs. We just want guarantees that's going to work. And what that looks like from an ERPA perspective is service level agreements, a very solid support team structure with dedicated support team leads, and very efficient cloud infrastructure hosting. Right? When it comes to addressing fluctuating needs, again, from an ERP perspective, that just means understanding your business, right? Open communication and being prepared and architecting in a way that we can handle scalable traffic, whether that's something like open enrollment, whether that's high transaction volume in the form of student registrations, in the form of payroll, whatever that might need, whatever that might be, we can architect to scale and to fail over if needed, right? High critical path for us in terms of our partners. In terms of our customers. Cost optimization, predictability, right? This is really driving infrastructure optimization, which is something that we do every day. But more importantly, it's predictable managed services. So we operate with a fixed scope, fixed fee partnership. We offer an agreed upon rate card, right, for T&M. And we continue to drive cost efficiencies in the cloud, something that we discuss in each of our QBRs. What about resource gaps and backup, right? The world isn't producing more PeopleSoft expert level resources, but we do have those. So if our clients are ever in a position where they need to lean on PeopleSoft SMEs, we have those available to support whatever endeavors they may be pursuing. And then on through product and regulatory requirements and business agility. And I think really, the key is how do we get these things to a place where we can drive forward into business agility and innovation, right? So not only new feature adoption, but new environment creations and really continuous improvements. And that's where we start to bring in the fun stuff like analytics and Gen AI. And we'll talk a little bit about those things here in a moment. So this is what drivers and best practices look like from a managed service provider's perspective, based on feedback that we've gotten from our customers over 2 decades. And this is what it looks like from our customers' perspective. Right? So what are our customers demanding from us? They're demanding contract terms, right? We want straightforward contracts. We want terms and conditions that are very clear, concise, and can be modified over time. Right? We want SLAs. Everything is about transparency and flexibility. We want SLAs so that the environment's just going to run. It's going to meet our expectations. Flexible resource models, right? So in addition to flexible contract terms and SLAs to ensure the business outcome, then we want resource models that can grow, scale with our business needs. We offer outcome-based pricing, right? Which is our customers are saying, look, we want a fixed scope, a fixed fee pricing with a predictable cost model for our run state business that includes both infrastructure and managed services. Our customers demand a communication cadence, which is fantastic. We love that. We love the collaboration aspect of it. We can serve them better when we have this communication. And they demanding continued experience, or excuse me, continuous improvement. So when our experience with MSP best practices aligns with what our customers are looking for to maximize the efforts of their managed service providers, that puts us in a very strong position to deliver amazing outcomes. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Vishal Kotari, and we're going to talk about what some of those outcomes look like.
Hey, thanks, John, and hello, everyone. Uh, I lead the managed services practice for ERPA, and in that role, I talk to several customers from different industries, and we talk about common challenges that they face for managed services engagements. So today I'm going to talk about three customers from different industry verticals and their challenges with the managed services providers before they engage with ERPA. So most of these challenges are common, and Sean already spoke about them. But I'm gonna go with the most common complaint. It was lack of responsiveness from their managed services provider. When we spoke to our prospects then, and they mentioned it just takes 2 days to get a response and many more days to get a resolution. The other complaint was there was no focus on continuous improvement and innovation. Their PeopleSoft environment was stale, and the services model lacked innovation. Customers also spoke about lack of flexibility in their previous managed services model, lack of flexibility in service delivery, meaning if they had to scale the service up or down, they were tied to one fixed model. They were not able to scale up or down. Similarly, flexibility in contracting and flexibility in hosting model. We do not tie our customers to a particular hosting model. We are totally comfortable with the hosting account being with the customer or being with ERPA. The customers also complained about frequent changes, change orders, and unpredictable and rising costs. And then there were very specific challenges for each customer. Like, for example, ISU, student enrollment is a big thing for higher education customers and is a key business event. And they were facing performance issues, and the system went down every time there was a heavy transactional load. For Corwell, it was financial reporting, and it was taking a long time. For City of Boston, they were on mainframe, and they had 20 different contracts with the mainframe provider, and that was a challenge. So how did we address these challenges for our customers? So basically, we architect the infrastructure solution based on customer needs. We base it on best practices and years of experience in making PeopleSoft better. From an AWS perspective, we basically rely on the well-architected framework. We base our solution on that. From an industry standard SLAs, we meet the SLAs, we define the SLAs and we meet them. And that's one of the key pillars of reliability. Also, I want to talk about the orchestration and automation platform. ERPA has an orchestration and automation platform, Active Genie, which enables operational excellence and high productivity. But it's important to note that our automation engine is not a black box. We are transparent in our approach with how we use our automation engine. And then it brings me to another important point. The key to our model is flexibility. And we understand one size does not fit all. We tailor our model based on our customer needs, their environments, their pain points. Additionally, we infuse our managed services with innovation and thought leadership for a better PeopleSoft. Whether it's enhancing business process through chatbots or AI, or through automation, or through feature adoption, which are released every quarter by Oracle through pumps, or through implementation of products, best of breed products such as Fire for change management or security maintenance and other such products. As a result, the cost is predictable and we are also able to define the scope clearly. We don't nickel and dime with change orders. And because of that, the business outcomes, our customers have better business outcomes. Over to you, Sean.
Thank you, Vishal. Did you want to walk through these or would you like me to?
So in terms of outcomes achieved, better business outcomes, we had a significant reduction in TCO. Our adherence for SLA is 100%, for P1 and P2 tickets. For P3 and P4 is 98 and above. Also, in terms of registration, once we took over the ISU managed services engagement, there is a 100% successful registration event. The system has not gone down any time, and we were able to support the high volume transaction events. For City of Boston, we were able to consolidate the 20 vendor contracts into one contract. For Corwell, we were able to do a faster business reporting. And also, we achieved productivity improvement through automation. And we are also, in all these accounts, are trying to infuse AI and automation to better leverage and enhance the business process.
Excellent.
Tom?
These are all great examples of customers that similar paths, but different desired business outcomes and ERP's ability to help them realize those outcomes. So at the end of the day, why do customers choose to partner with ERPA, right? I think the takeaway is that first and foremost, we'll meet you wherever you are in your journey to better, right? If it's migrate to modernize, to address scalability and performance, obviously that's something that we're happy to do. I think ISU is a great example of that. In fact, ISU was on another cloud platform. I think it's okay for me to say this, but they were on OCI and just weren't achieving the business outcomes that they wanted. So they selected ERPA to help them literally relocate their PeopleSoft stack to AWS, where we've since exceeded their expectations. If perhaps it's about, hey, we already have similar to ISU, we already have a managed service provider, but we need to reimagine what that looks like. Certainly, we can help you with that as well. I think ISU is not only a good example of that, but also the City of Boston and Boston Public Schools, right, where it was a little bit different lift in that they really needed a complete re-architecture. So City of Boston, Boston Public Schools moved from a mainframe environment, wanted to adopt to a cloud environment, but in doing so also needed to reimagine what managed services look like. So we spent a great deal of time with them, really walking through delineation of responsibility and helping the City of Boston to determine what are the things that their team should be doing, right? Not what could they do, they could do it all, but what should they be doing and what things should we as a partner be picking up for them? So we can certainly help you reimagine what your managed services look like. And then I think the third reason that customers select ERPA is that we are committed, right? We are 100% committed to being transparent, to sharing benchmarks for success, reviewing that progress quarter over quarter, and ensuring that we are aligning with your business outcomes to ensure that you're able to see the results you would like to do. So whether you're in a place where you're just wanting more out of your PeopleSoft, tactical project level things, we'd love to help you. If you're at a place where you're looking at, hey, how do we redefine what managed services look like? We'd love to walk you through an art of the possible session and discuss with you how other customers have approached that same topic and the business outcome they achieved. And if you're just looking for potentially how do we get on the path to SaaS, right? PeopleSoft works for us today, but someday Oracle will not support PeopleSoft, and we need to be prepared for that eventuality. How do we get on a path to modernization that may help us transition to SaaS when that day comes? We can certainly share with you the best practices that we've deployed with customers to ensure that they're on that path. So with that in mind, I think, Jeff, we'll open it up to any Q&A if there might be any.
Yeah, we've had a few questions come in. Sean and Vishal, join me on camera if you wouldn't mind. I've got a couple of questions that have come in. Now, a number of you have asked if the recording and the slides are going to be available afterward. Yes, in a few business days, you're going to get an email. If you registered or attended or registered even without attending, you're getting an email in your inbox with a link to the slides and to the recording. So thank you for asking that. A couple of questions are in, but again, we still have a few minutes left in our time. We're probably going to go about 8 or 10 more minutes, maybe, depending on how many questions come in. But feel free to continue to put any questions in the chat or the question feature in the top right-hand side of your webinar platform interface, and we will attempt to get to all of them before we close down our live event today. First question, I think, Sean, this might be for you. Could you further describe what your managed services model looks like?
Okay. That's a great question, and there's quite a bit to unpack there. So let me start simple, and then we'll drill down a little bit. I think the one word that I would use to describe our managed services model is flexible. So in 25 years, we've learned that one size does not fit all, right? Each of our clients are in a unique place on their journey to better, and they each have unique requirements. So we do have a framework to help our customers determine that delineation of responsibility, right? Think responsibility matrix. But with that framework, we're incredibly flexible. So kind of three things I would say jump out. From a technical perspective, I think Vishal alluded to this earlier. Some of our clients, for example, if they're modernizing PeopleSoft on AWS, would like to retain root account access of that AWS account. Fine, we're perfectly comfortable with that. Others would rather that their partner, like ERPA, retain root account access and manage everything from an infrastructure level. They just want a SaaS-like experience and they want it to work. So from a technical perspective, I think we're incredibly flexible. Where it really comes into play, I think, is at an operational perspective, right? And we look at operations really in 5 buckets. What's the cloud infrastructure support? What do you want to cover? What do you want us to cover? What's the PeopleSoft admin and maintenance support? Again, what would you like to address? What would you prefer that we do address? The same for database maintenance and support, PeopleSoft development support, and also functional support. So we look at those 5 buckets and work with our clients to kind of determine where are the roles and responsibilities within that context. And then last thing, in terms of our managed services model, if I had to pick like, hey, what's flexibility describes it, but what's really the cornerstone of our managed services model? I think it's really strong engagement governance. I think that's what differentiates our managed services model probably from most others out there, is that we're a tough teammate, right? We're going to hold you accountable, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable to ensure that we're driving the right business outcomes together. So great question. Thank you for that.
Good. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Thank you. I have a couple more come in, but you mentioned the word flexibility in your answer at the top of your answer just now. So I'm going to bump this question up in order. What do you mean when you say you offer flexibility in your delivery model?
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully I address this. If not, please reframe the question. But I think, right. So what we just talked about was flexibility in terms of our managed services model. What are the different areas of flexibility there and delineation of responsibility? Flexibility in our delivery model, I think, if I'm understanding the question correctly, is a little bit different, right? It really speaks to our ability to meet the individual needs of our customers wherever they are. So, for example, if our customer has PeopleSoft on-prem, is that something that we can work with? And the answer is absolutely yes. Perfectly comfortable with that. If our customer is seeking to rehost, right, to move that PeopleSoft application to the cloud, is that something we can help with? And again, the answer is yes, right? The flexibility to meet the customer where they are in that journey, and all the way down to refactoring, right? Or I should say, let me say replatforming. So for example, Illinois State University that we discussed, replatformed from OCI to AWS. If maybe it's re-architect, we can certainly work there as well. So City of Boston, Boston Public Schools is an example of re-architect from mainframe to AWS. And then repurchase is really what we're seeing a lot of today, where our customers are leaning into a hybrid model, right? We're saying, hey, PeopleSoft works for this, but we want to lean on SaaS for some of these other aspects, and we certainly lean on Workday for ERP SaaS. So kind of a long-winded answer to the flexibility in your delivery model. I think the flexibility in our delivery model is that regardless of the technical state, we're happy to meet you there. When it comes to the support of that delivery model, we're flexible to delineate lines of responsibility. And then lastly, I would also add that we're extremely contract friendly, right? So we have flexibility with our contracts as well. And one example of that might be if one of our clients is on a path to SaaS, right? They're maintaining PeopleSoft today, but they know that eventually they're going to adopt SaaS. If they choose to adopt Workday SaaS at some point in the future, we'll actually build a contract that allows them to transfer the spend of their managed services for PeopleSoft to managed services for Workday if they choose to go that path sometime in the future. So hugely flexible in the delivery model as well. I hope that helps.
Good. Okay, cool. I've got a couple more. What does your support team structure look like from an onshore, offshore perspective?
Okay, that's another great question, and this does come up a lot. Thank you for the question. So by default, ERP customer support teams leaders are based in the U.S. So our support team leadership is based in the U.S. That's to facilitate timely support for North America, and then they're augmented by offshore as needed. So offshore is a critical component. And it's critical because it allows us to offer that 24/7 support for our customers, right? So we have support centers in North America, which operate at UTC -5. We have support centers in India, which operate at UTC +5. So literally, we've got that follow the sun model of support for 24/7. But I think the key takeaway is that support team leaders are US based across the board. And then also escalation leadership resides in North America as well.
Good. So monitoring the questions, keep them coming in if you've got any more. I've got two more that have come in, Sean and Vishal. So this one relates to change orders. This person says they've experienced surprise change orders with their current service provider. Can you talk about your change order practices and what surprises your clients should expect?
Yeah, I'll take
Yeah,
that, Sean.
please
If
do, Vishal. Thank you.
Yeah, so with ERPA, change orders are more of an exception. Whenever we are defining our statements of work, we define the fixed scope and the modularity, like Sean was alluding to, the levels of support in the statement of work. So it's very well defined, and our contract terms are non-restrictive. So in the three customer examples that I spoke about, I can say that we've just had one change order combined total of one change order over 3 years for all the three customers. So again, to re-emphasize, it's an exception. If you define your statement of work well, then you don't need to go through this nickel and diming and continuous cycle of change orders.
Very good. Yeah, that's a pretty good ratio, Vishal. Thank you for that. Okay, I've got one more, and again, if there's any more, keep them coming in. But I've got one more final question, unless we have another one that's thrown into the chat. Sean, this is to you. You referred to something called Beyond ERP. This person says they weren't aware that there was a Beyond ERP. Can you tease that out a little bit more? They say, help me understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, of course, and that's really another great question. So I think really what that's about is that once we have, we'll just stick with PeopleSoft as the ERP example, right? Once we have PeopleSoft modernized, updated, current, and running autonomously, now all of a sudden we have resources that are more free to go beyond ERP, meaning focus time, energy, and in some cases funds to value add things on top of just that PeopleSoft platform. So a couple of really quick examples, and Vishal may want to lean in here as well. We do, for one customer, they're like, hey, look, we need help with chatbots. Can you help us with a digital assistant to automate our support processes? That's something that's kind of beyond the baseline PeopleSoft layer. And that digital chatbot then makes their support for their end users much more efficient and allows their staff to focus on even more things to drive value for the business. Another one, I think Vishal may have mentioned Corvell. So Corvell, an interesting example, a ton of data, right? Like most of us, a ton of data, oftentimes disparate data sources. And they were trying to understand, hey, how do we leverage this data to make more informed decisions about the future of the business? So they asked us to help them build some custom dashboards powered by some Gen AI technologies from AWS that produces a natural language query. So they can now query against that database for a number of different insights. And those queries then produce executive level summaries, written summaries that they can then share with board and other members. So again, one step beyond just ERP, but getting the baseline stable, it really enables all of that innovation.
Good, good. Vishal, anything to add there?
Yes, so to add to what Sean said, we are making the business process more efficient and more simpler and more intuitive for the end user. End of the day, what we are trying to do is improve the end user experience of using PeopleSoft. And all these technologies are beyond just what business process is offered. It's enabling and enhancing that business process and the user experience that all the customers have.
Very good. Very nicely said. I'm monitoring the questions. Sean and Vishal, that's it for now. I'll keep looking. Sean, if you want to go to our final slide, it's our contact page, letting you know how you can be in touch with us. Thank you, Sean and Vishal. And thanks to all of you who joined us today. We hope you found this discussion helpful, whether you're looking to begin your journey with PeopleSoft or you want to refresh your journey. Our service delivery model at ERPA is not a one size fits all. We meet you where you are with the internal expertise to take you where you want to go. And this slide shares a number of ways that you can be in touch with us to talk about it. I'm monitoring the questions and I don't see any more coming in. So yes, many of you did ask if you're going to get the recording. You will receive an email in a few business days with links to the recording and the slides, either for you to review yourself or if you'd like to share it with someone you think could benefit from this material, including the Q&A, please share out that link with them so that they can have access to the recording or the slide deck. It looks like that's it for now. Look for more webinars to come on a variety of topics of interest to those using PeopleSoft. In the meantime, thank you from ERPA. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.